I'm a member of NADAL, it's the National Association of Democratic Lawyers. We were called out to render assistance to the UCT students because we were told that there was a situation and it was escalating. I, along with one of my colleagues, Shyam Parker, then attended on the auspices of NADAL. We then spoke to the students and then the police, and then the police said that they were instructed by the sheriff because of the interdict that was taken out that same day by UCT, that they were in violation of the interdict because they were occupying the Bremner building, and then they were forced to execute and basically remove them from the building. So they were in violation of 1.15 of the interdict. The police then did so, and I must comment on basically they did it in a very non-violent fashion. They basically removed the students and put them in the van, and then the ones that were occupying, they also just let them into the van. The students came peacefully. There was a situation where they were blocking the van, but that was resolved quite amicably. Afterwards, basically at 1:30 in the morning, there was a resolution that they would drop the charges, and then the situation was kind of resolved at that time. But they were going to be arrested, but I managed to negotiate their release. Immediately, 8 o'clock the next morning, another call, which I kind of expected because from speaking with the students, they were planning action every single day. Then they were arrested again, also on the interdict, as well as the regulation 205 of 1993, which basically means that anything over 15 individuals will be regarded as a gathering, and then you need to apply to the requisite authorities, to the police, for permit to do so. The students obviously failed to do that, and that's which led. Then there was about 23 of them arrested. After negotiations with the NPA and relevant authorities, they eventually released on warning, and they are due to appear in Wynberg Magistrate Court on the 28th of this month. Yesterday, obviously, I managed to get past the whole day without something happening. 4 o'clock, gave me a call and said there's a situation, it's escalating, must come out now. We went, and obviously that was just before, that was afterwards we found out that some students had actually jumped over the second gate into Parliament. And that's when the police were called out in their droves. I never saw so many policemen over recent times. I mean, I think it was about 200 policemen, and they cordoned off the entire town. And basically they formed a barricade around Parliament, and then they were basically pushing these students out and making them walk, and the students did actually agree to leave. But in doing so, they stopped, and it was stopped to start, and then basically the police were forced to use the stun grenades, as you saw the video footage clips, and that's because there was allegations that the students were throwing stones. And they did make subsequent arrests, as you know, 29 of them. Nadal then was called out, and we were negotiating with the police, and eventually at 11 o'clock last night, we got 23 of them released on warning again. And then we appeared, and then the 6 that were jumped over in the gates in Parliament, there was considerations by the NPA to charge them with a more serious offence, but luckily cool heads prevailed, and they weren't charged with that. They were the 23 were charged with violating the regulation of Gatherings Act and public violence, and the 6 were those two violations, and they were added trespass. I think there was an allegation of treason. So, but luckily that wasn't pursued, and they were all. And as I said, the 23 were released on warning, and the 6 were at private attorneys, also on a pro bono basis today at court, at Cape Town Magistrates Court. They were also subsequently released on warning. Parliament is the highest seat of government in our country, and they entered Parliament by jumping over the gate. Now, for students, obviously, I'm assuming that they didn't see it as such a serious violation, but it is definitely seen because, from a police standpoint, they had to immediately react because it's a government building, and that's what. So they had to protect the building. Well, Nadal is basically historical. They were the public interest. We always act in the public interest. So we saw the plight of the students as one of those where we can render assistance, and clearly they need it because students obviously don't have the legal uh, access to resources, monetary or otherwise, to basically defend themselves. So we decided to step in as a group. Yeah, Frank Chikane's son was actually in Trent Grove, were arrested in the six that were taken to Belleville and released today. They did a private representation, as I said. Yeah, they were involved. The Max Price's son was part of our 23. Well, they asked. I'm sure you're well aware. There's numerous interdicts flying around the place, and one of them that came out last night where there is LRC is bringing a uh, application where they want to regulate how the police deal with these situations in the future, and I think that is very important because the situation was at a knife edge yesterday. It could have tipped and become very violent, and there could have been serious injuries and ramifications of that. Because remember, we're dealing with 19-year-old students mostly. The average age is 19. They're very young, and if the police reacted more or something else happened, it could have escalated much more. You know, and we know of the past, Americana and so forth, how things could escalate, and what can come of this is how the police and the government, NPA, or how they react to situations of mass action, or as they say, yeah, illegal gatherings. Yeah, how they react and basically how they deal with the crowds, whether it's necessary to use flash grenades as they did. I think there are a lot of complaints were about that. And the interdict is from a mother, UCT student, one of the mothers, and the injured UCT students brought the application. And the police have to have a clear directive and be trained to deal in those situations. If anything can come from it, it's basically how to do in a peaceful and amicable way, how to resolve and disperse a crowd rather than a heavy-handed tactics where it could escalate and you could result in the loss of life. I understand that there is another march scheduled for tomorrow, and I believe some students that have been released have been arrested also now. I'm not too sure. I've refused confirmation. Someone asking me about that right now. But tomorrow, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a few more arrests.